Good morning, everyone. Tractor Man 44 here. I tell you all the time that, life changes, with a phone call. Yesterday, I was out digging up a water line, or a broken water line at a 86-year-old buddy of mine's house, way out in the country. He just got out of the hospital from a heart attack last week and was going to go dig it up himself, so I was out there digging that up. Didn't get it completely dug up, it was too muddy. And then last night I had to come over to my wife's lady friend's house and take a look at her furnace. Some wise guy told me one time, he said, redundancy is a really good thing as long as you're hitting home runs or bowling strikes. But it ain't so much a good thing when you're working on furnaces. About a week or so ago, I had to come over and take a look at this thing. And I noticed that the only problem I found was I had a Molex plug on the circuit board that if I just literally put my finger on the plug and put just a slight amount of pressure, it would complete the circuit and everything would function. Well, I had to come back over last night. Try as I may, it would work if I pushed down on it this time. It would work if I pushed up on it the next time. It would work the next time if I pushed from the left or the right. But when you turn loose of it, couldn't get it to do anything. So the only thing I can suspect is the solder connections on that microcircuitry behind that Molex plug has got to have some fractures that I just cannot see with my naked eye. And that's not repairable by me. If I had the wherewithal to make the repairs on that type of circuitry, I'd be doing electronics work and things of that nature. But I ain't smart enough to do electronic work, so barely work on these dang old furnaces. But at any rate, I'm going to bring you along today and show you what the only solution for a person in my particular case, and that's to change that circuit board. This is the Molex plug that I'm referring to. Molex is a standard term, I think, for a manufacturer that designed these particular plugs. But there's a male end and then there's a female end. First thing when you have a problem with the Molex plug is you want to make sure that the male portions are sticking all the way into the Molex plug as far as they should, and also that those on the other end, the female, haven't spread open too largely or too big and making a faulty circuit. So there's a little split in the tips of these male ends. So the first thing that you want to do is stick a tiny screwdriver in there and spread those splits to kind of expand them a little bit to come in possibly into better contact with the female receptacle. Well, I did that, that was one of the functions that I did, and that did not help me at all. So at any rate, we're going to change this puppy out. It'll take a few minutes to disconnect all this stuff, making sure you don't make a mistake, These down here, well, here's another Molex. I'll do these all one at a time so I don't have to write anything down. And up here is our red, white, green, and yellow. This is just all the standard thermostat connections up here, no big deal. I can't see any problem at all back there, but it has got to be a connection between this female Molex receptacle and the solder joints or the connections on the other side of the circuit board behind that plug. At least that's what I'm hoping. Okay, I got the new board in there. Time to start putting these components in there. That happens to be the blower motor speeds. Of course, you have to make sure your dip switches and your jumper wires are all in the identical position of what they were when you took them off. That's a 24-volt power. When you plug in your Molex plugs, make sure you hear the definitive click. Now we got to see if we can figure out the thermostat connections again. I'm just kidding. Now the red terminal sends voltage to the thermostat. The thermostat switches it all, brings it back down on the white wire to energize heat, brings it down on the green wire to energize the fan, or sends it down on the yellow terminal to go to the outside unit to bring on the condenser. Then the condenser has to come back to a neutral or a common transformer common. So that's quick and simple. That should be correct. So if the thermostat's calling for heat, that's a jumper for the blower delay. Once the thermostat satisfies, it maintains the blower in operation for a certain period of time, depending on the combination of pins you place that jumper on. 30, 60, 90, 120, 180 seconds or something like that is typical for it to blow the residual heat out of the heat exchanger after the gas valve shuts off. So let's see what happens here. Typically, whenever we have a call for heat on this particular one here, this is not a condensing furnace, it's an 80% furnace. The combustion air fan will actually start running. Once the combustion air fan runs, it goes about the business of completing pressure switches that are a proving signal to the circuit board that tells the gas algorithm, or the gas firing algorithm, that there is in fact a predetermined amount of air passing through the heat exchanger, and it's okay to turn the gas on. After a period of time, and typically it's 30 seconds, you can see the orange glow down here. After a 30-second pre-purge period, that'll establish the glow coil. The glow coil then will go ahead and heat for another several seconds, maybe 12-15 seconds or so. At that point, the relay or the circuit board will send a relay signal down to the gas valve to ignite. The gas valve should ignite instantly, just as it did right there. It's got 5 seconds for the flame signal, or the flame sensor, to send the signal back to the circuit board that flame has been established. If flame is not established within that 5-second period, the glow coil drops out and the gas valve loses its voltage, just shuts down. And so right now we went through a delay period in the algorithm. The blower is started on the speed that we selected, and I think we selected medium high because it's a fairly large house, and it's go ahead and blowing the heat through the house. Now, like I said, what I was having to do on the other board was up here. Whenever the glow coil would energize, I have about 15 seconds before the algorithm would send voltage to the gas control. So I just reach up here and put my finger right here, and it would almost instantly ignite. The next time, if I put my finger over here and put a little pressure up, it would almost instantly ignite. The same time, I could push to the left or to the right and it would ignite. But no matter what I did, there was nothing I could do to make it maintain that circuitry, which is kind of an aggravation because it's a tremendously expensive circuit board to have something so silly go wrong with it. You see some funny things, but this is really an odd one. But at any rate, I think I'm going to wrap this one up. So one of the last things I do is I go ahead and write a note on the particular box or whatever, and the date that I replaced things, and put on there what the failure was on it, and then just set it here by the furnace on the floor. I do this most of the time at every service call I go on, unless people just don't want debris, laying around. And of course, on rooftops and stuff, you don't want to leave that lay around on the equipment or on the roof itself, because it could do some damage. So I usually discard those, but only after I show and describe the issue to the customer. So at any rate, that's just a few minutes to show you that, well, hey, old retired guys might be old and half wore out, but that doggies, we can still cut the mustard. I'm getting to the point to where I don't want to anymore. So fellas, that's just a little blurb to show you, how exciting life can be in retirement. You never walk away from it, dang, if you're an air conditioner guy, there's always people that need your help, And like I said, this is my wife's lady friend. We take care of a lot of things for her. Between my son-in-law, she calls him Raul, the pool boy. But at any rate, between my son-in-law and myself and my son, we come over and we take care of issues for her. She's a good gal, and deserves a little bit of help every now and then. But at any rate, hey, we're going to put this one to rest. And this is TractorMan 44, and I am out of here, man. I'm on to the next thing.